-6 degrees in Minneapolis Thursday morning. I need you to understand what that number means. -6 degrees. That S 39 degrees below what S normal for this time of year. Think your city is safe? Think again. Over the next 20 minutes, I am breaking down exactly which cities get crushed by this Arctic assault, when the danger peaks in your area, and why what happens next week could make this look mild. I need to know where you are right now. Drop your city in the comments immediately. I am not asking for engagement metrics. I am asking because tomorrow's forecast will be personalized based on every location mentioned in the comments tonight. I am literally going through each one to build custom breakdowns. Tell me your city. Tell me if you are prepared. Tell me what scares you most about this weather. The detail matters. Let me give you what you came for right away. Minneapolis, -6 degrees, 39 below average. Tennessee sitting at 12 degrees while thousands freeze without power from last week's ice storm. Miami dropping to 36 degrees, potentially the coldest since 1989. Laredo, Texas, under freeze warnings. When does Laredo ever get freeze warnings? New Orleans under extreme cold warning. The entire state of Florida, all of it, under cold weather alerts. Charlotte buried under 7.5 inches of snow after getting destroyed by ice last week. But here's the part that should terrify you. This cold doesn't leave. It digs in and holds on for days. The geographic scale of this is staggering. From the Continental Divide to the Atlantic Ocean, we're talking about the eastern two-thirds of the United States locked in an Arctic deep freeze. Over 100 million Americans are experiencing temperatures 20 to 35 degrees below average right this moment. Not 5 degrees below normal, not 10 degrees, 20 to 35 degrees colder than it should be. Mississippi in the teens tonight, Alabama in the teens, Georgia widespread 20s, Oklahoma and Texas blanketed in 20s and 30s, Pennsylvania dropping to single digits with some areas going below zero. This is the kind of widespread Arctic outbreak that happens maybe once or twice a winter, if that. States of emergency have been declared across multiple states. Tennessee remains in crisis mode with power restoration still ongoing from the ice storm. Now they were dealing with temperatures that make living without heat genuinely life-threatening. Kentucky in similar shape. Parts of North Carolina are getting absolutely pummeled by snow as I record this, with more states likely to declare emergencies as this coastal storm intensifies overnight. The timeline is what makes this so brutal. Last week, the ice storm. This week, the coastal bomb followed by sustained Arctic cold. Next week, potentially another storm system. And then the week after that, early indications suggest the polar vortex might destabilize and send even colder air south. This isn't a quick hit. This is a pattern that sets up shop and refuses to leave. Here's what makes this setup particularly nasty. The upper-level winds have created what meteorologists call an omega block. Picture the Greek letter omega. That S, what the jet stream looks like right now on the upper air maps. A massive ridge of high pressure over the western U.S., keeping them warm and dry. A deep trough over the east, bringing Arctic air straight down from Canada. And once this pattern locks in, it's incredibly resistant to change. The jet stream gets stuck in this configuration and just sits there, day after day of the same cold pattern. The coastal low-pressure system intensifying right now is textbook bombogenesis. That S, when a storm S central pressure drops at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. This storm started this afternoon at 102 millibars. By tonight, it crashes to 992. By tomorrow morning, it could drop another 10 millibars beyond that. When pressure falls that rapidly, the storm becomes like a winter hurricane. Winds crank up, snow rates intensify to 2 or 3 inches per hour. Visibility drops to 0 in heavy bands. This is dangerous weather. The meteorology gets even more interesting when you look at what's feeding this system. That Arctic high pressure sitting over the northern plains is absolutely massive. I am talking 1,040 plus millibars. High pressure that strong creates a tremendous temperature gradient with the low pressure off the coast. That gradient drives fierce winds. It also means the cold air behind this system has nowhere to go but south and east. The high pressure acts like a dam, holding Arctic air in place over the eastern U.S. Both major forecast models, the European ECMWF and the American GFS, have been locked in on this scenario for 3 days now. When models agree this far in advance with this much consistency, forecasters get very confident in the outcome. There's always uncertainty in exact snow totals and precise timing, but the overall pattern is crystal clear. Big coastal storm tonight into tomorrow. Dangerous cold following. Extended period of below normal temperatures. Areas of uncertainty right now focus mainly on that northern edge of the snow shield. Will Washington, D.C. see an inch or just flurries? Does the heavy snow band make it to southern Virginia, or does it stay focused on North Carolina? These are the kinds of questions that get resolved in the final 12 to 24 hours before a storm. But the core forecast, heavy snow Carolinas through Virginia, that S locked in. What I'm seeing in the extended range models has me concerned for everyone watching. Way too early for specifics, but both the European and American models hint at another storm system developing late this week into the weekend. Early indications suggest this could take a more southern track, potentially bringing significant icing from Texas through the deep south. If that materializes, we're talking about a major ice storm for areas that just got hammered or are getting hammered right now. I'll have much better clarity on this tomorrow, 5 minutes in, just like I promised. Here comes the detailed city-by-city breakdown. I am going to mix up how I deliver this because nobody wants to listen to a robotic list for 10 minutes. Each city gets unique context. Let's start in the deep south because that's where people are least prepared for cold like this. Houston, you are under freeze warnings tonight. Temperatures crash into the upper 20s across the metro area. For a city built for heat and humidity, this is serious business. Your infrastructure isn't designed for sustained freezing. Pipes in attics and crawl spaces are vulnerable. Let those faucets drip tonight and tomorrow night. Even a small stream of water prevents freezing. The good news for you is this cold doesn't last. By Thursday, you are warming back up. By Friday, you could touch 60 degrees. San Antonio, similar story. Freeze warnings extend through the hill country. Some of those northern suburbs and elevated areas could see upper teens tonight. This is that bone-dry Arctic air I mentioned. When dew points are in the single digits, temperatures just collapse after sunset. Protect sensitive vegetation. Cover outdoor plants if you can. This moderates quickly for you too. Weekend looks much better. Dallas-Fort Worth, you are the poster child for temperature whiplash this week. High today, only 32 degrees. By Friday, 72 degrees. Read that again. 32 to 72 in 5 days. That is a 40-degree swing. Tonight, widespread 20s across the Metroplex. Protect your pipes. Disconnect outdoor hoses. Open cabinet doors under sinks to let warm air circulate. Wednesday, you start the warming trend. Thursday, you near 50. Friday, you in shorts and t-shirts again. This is Texas weather at its most bipolar. Oklahoma City and Tulsa, you in the transition zone. 20s tonight, which is cold but manageable. The Arctic air is overhead but already starting to loosen its grip on you. By midweek, you moderate quickly. By the weekend, you are back in the 60s. The worst 48 hours for you is right now through Tuesday night. After that, relief comes fast. New Orleans, I don't say this lightly. You're under an extreme cold warning for New Orleans. That's not something you see every winter. Temperatures tonight drop into the mid to upper 20s. For a city that far south, that close to the Gulf, built on infrastructure designed for heat and hurricanes, not freezing weather, this stresses every system. The power grid works harder. Pipes in older homes without proper insulation are at risk. Your homeless population is particularly vulnerable. Warming shelters need to be at capacity. This isn't just uncomfortable cold. This is dangerous for anyone exposed to it for extended periods. Baton Rouge and Lafayette, same situation. 20s tonight. Freeze warnings in effect. Citrus growers in South Louisiana, you know the drill. Protect what you can. This is the kind of cold that damages crops if not properly managed. Jackson, Mississippi. Temperatures in the teens tonight. The teens in Mississippi. When was the last time Jackson saw sustained temperatures in the teens? Roads that got wet today freeze solid tonight. Black ice everywhere tomorrow morning. Schools will close. State offices might delay opening. This is weather Mississippi isn't equipped to handle. Birmingham, Alabama, teens overnight. The Magic City turns into the Frozen City. Interstate 65 and 20 both could have significant ice issues tomorrow morning if any moisture is on the pavement. Give yourself extra time. Leave extra space between vehicles. Atlanta, you saw snow this morning, which always creates chaos in a city built on hills with minimal snow removal equipment. Total accumulation stays light, maybe 2 inches max in northern suburbs. But the cold is the real story for you. Tonight, low 20s, Wednesday morning, another round of low 20s. That's cold enough to create serious black ice problems. Thursday, you finally start moderating. By the weekend, you are back near 50, and this becomes a distant memory. Athens and Augusta, Georgia, you are in that 2-inch accumulation zone. Not crippling amounts, but enough to create headaches. Roads will be slick tonight into tomorrow morning. The University of Georgia likely cancels classes tomorrow. Augusta with the Masters coming up in a couple months. This cold snap won't hurt the course. Grass goes dormant. It'll bounce back fine. Charleston, South Carolina. Now we into more substantial snow. 4 inches expected in the Holy City. This hits tonight and continues into tomorrow morning. King Street, the market, all those brick roads in the historic district become ice rinks. Tourism grinds to a halt. The port likely shuts down operations. For a coastal city, 4 inches is a legitimate snow event. Power outages are possible if tree limbs snap under wet snow weight. Charleston doesn't have the infrastructure to bounce back quickly from snow like this. Columbia, South Carolina, you are dead center in the bullseye. 5 inches forecast. This coastal low sets up perfectly to hammer the capital city. Snow begins this evening, turns heavy overnight, continues through tomorrow morning. Your Tuesday morning commute doesn't happen, I mean it. Stay home if at all possible. Roads will be impassable. The state government will likely operate on a skeleton crew. Schools already announcing closures. This is the biggest snow for Columbia since the last major event several years ago. Florence, you're looking at 7 inches. The storm really cranks up as it gets closer to the coast. Heavy snow overnight with blizzard-like conditions developing. Visibility drops to near zero in the heaviest bands. That ocean moisture feeds right into this system. The snow rates could hit 2 or 3 inches per hour at peak intensity. Do not travel. Florence shuts down completely. Myrtle Beach, 6 inches possible right along the Grand Strand. Beach communities aren't supposed to see snow like this. When it does happen, everything stops. The tourist season is already slow this time of year. Now the few hotels and restaurants that stay open have to deal with this. That 55-mile-per-hour wind off the ocean creates massive drifting. Snow doesn't fall evenly. It piles up in huge drifts against buildings and vehicles. Now let's talk about Charlotte because this city cannot catch a break. 7.5 inches of snow coming to the Queen City. You just got destroyed by sleet and ice last week. Roads are still recovering, salt supplies are getting low, crews are exhausted. Now you get buried in heavy snow. This storm has it out for Charlotte. Snow starts tonight, becomes heavy overnight, persists through tomorrow morning. This is the worst possible timing. Tuesday morning rush hour gets obliterated. Interstate 77, Interstate 85, all the major arteries become parking lots. Maybe don't even try. Work from home if you can. This is the biggest snow event for Charlotte since 2018 when they got 10 inches. You are approaching those totals. Raleigh, Durham, and the Triangle, you are getting hammered right now as I record this. Heavy snow bands have set up over Wake County. Reports already coming in of multiple inches on the ground with hours of snow still to come. This continues all night. You wake up tomorrow to a legitimate winter wonderland. The Research Triangle Park shuts down. State government offices close. RTP employs thousands of people. They are all staying home tomorrow. This is a significant economic impact just from one snow event. Fayetteville and Fort Liberty, 4.5 inches. The snow arrives this evening and goes heavy overnight. Military families, base operations will be impacted tomorrow. Schools on base will close. Interstate 95 through Fayetteville becomes treacherous. That is a major north-south artery on the East Coast. When I-95 shuts down or becomes dangerous, it impacts commerce from Florida to Maine. Wilmington, North Carolina, 10 inches possible. You are right on the coast, right where that low-pressure center is intensifying. This is a crippling snow event for a coastal community. The port at Wilmington handles significant cargo. That shuts down. Beach communities like Wrightsville Beach get buried. The roads connecting Wilmington to Raleigh via Interstate 40 become impassable. If you in Wilmington tonight, you are not going anywhere until Wednesday at the earliest. Plan accordingly. Jacksonville near Camp Lejeune also looking at 10 inches. Marine Corps families, this is substantial. The base will operate on mission essential personnel only. Dependents need to stock up on supplies now if they haven't already. This much snow in a coastal area creates problems that last for days. Greenville, North Carolina, heavy accumulation here too. East Carolina University students, enjoy your snow day. The university will shut down tomorrow. Downtown Greenville, with its hills and older infrastructure, struggles with even small amounts of snow. This much accumulation creates a multi-day recovery. Moving up to Virginia now, and this is where the forecast gets tricky. Virginia Beach, 5 inches possible from this storm. That S significant for Hampton Roads. The ocean front gets blasted with wind and blowing snow. Naval Station Norfolk, the largest naval base in the world, will see impacts to operations. Ships in port ride this out. Aircraft stay grounded. This is a rare heavy snow event for the 7 cities area. The last comparable event was that January 2016 storm. Norfolk, Newport News, Hampton, same forecast. 5 inches with fierce winds. The HRBT, the bridge tunnels, could shut down if conditions deteriorate enough. When the tunnels close, Hampton Roads gets cut in half. Traffic nightmares ensue. Richmond, you're on that northern fringe where the forecast gets uncertain. Current thinking puts you around half an inch, maybe an inch in spots. The heaviest snow stays just south of you, but you still deal with the cold. Teens overnight tonight, low 20s tomorrow night. That is cold enough to create hazardous conditions on anything wet. Washington, D.C. metro area, you're largely spared from this particular storm. Some snow showers, maybe an inch if you're unlucky, but the bulk of the heavy snow stays south. Northern Virginia, same story. Fairfax, Arlington, Alexandria, you see some flakes, but accumulation stays light. The story for you is the cold that follows. Teens overnight, midweek, wind chills in the single digits. Now let's jump to cities that aren't getting snow but are getting absolutely crushed by cold. Chicago, you're in the deep freeze. Temperatures running 20 to 30 degrees below average. Overnight lows in the single digits Tuesday and Wednesday. Wind chills drop below zero. This is dangerous cold, the kind that causes frostbite on exposed skin in 15 to 30 minutes. The National Weather Service isn't joking around with those warnings. Cover all exposed skin if you must go outside. Multiple layers. Hat that covers your ears. Gloves, not pockets. Face covering over your nose and mouth. The thing about Chicago cold is the wind off Lake Michigan makes it feel even worse than the thermometer says. That wind cuts right through you. Wind chills Tuesday morning could approach 20 below zero. That S when schools start closing not because of snow, but because of the danger to kids waiting at bus stops. Milwaukee, same situation. Highs in the teens through Wednesday. Overnight lows in the single digits. Wind off the lake is relentless. Wind chills in the dangerous territory. This is the coldest stretch of the winter so far for southeast Wisconsin. The kind of cold where your car might not start in the morning, where your door locks freeze, where you seriously question why you live in the Midwest. Minneapolis and the Twin Cities, you are in full Arctic mode. Overnight, low Thursday morning, -6 degrees. Let me emphasize that. -6 below zero. That's 39 degrees colder than normal for early February. This is air that originated in the Arctic, got swept down by that massive upper-level trough, and settled over Minnesota with no modification. The entire state is a freezer. Schools may close Wednesday and Thursday just due to the extreme cold. When temperatures get this low, diesel fuel gels. Buses 1T run. Heating systems struggle to keep up. Detroit, single digits overnight. Tuesday and Wednesday. The Motor City lives up to its name as cars refuse to start in extreme cold. Keep jumper cables handy. Keep a full tank of gas. If you get stranded, you need to be able to run your engine for heat. Cleveland, similar setup. Single digits with lake effect snow on top of it. Lake Erie is still relatively warm compared to the Arctic air. When that air flows over the lake, it picks up moisture and dumps snow. These aren't huge, widespread events. These are intense, narrow bands that drop heavy snow in small areas. You could drive from sunshine into whiteout conditions in 5 miles. That's the danger of lake effect. Buffalo, you are the lake effect capital of America. When Arctic air flows over Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, the snow machine fires up. South towns could see 8 to 12 inches from lake effect alone Tuesday into Wednesday. This is separate from any coastal storm. This is your local enhancement. Ski resorts love it. Commuters hate it. Visibility in lake effect bands drops to 0. You literally cannot see the hood of your car. Syracuse and Rochester, both Great Lakes cities, both getting hammered by lake effect. These bands set up and just sit there for hours. One street gets buried while 2 miles away they see nothing. That S-lake effect for you. Incredibly localized and incredibly intense. Pittsburgh, you are in a cold pocket. Single digits overnight Wednesday. The hills and valleys around Pittsburgh create temperature inversions that trap cold air. Some of those river valleys could see temperatures even colder than the official airport reading. This is frozen pipe territory. Let water drip in unheated areas, moving to the northeast, where cold becomes the dominant story all week. New York City, you're not getting much snow from this coastal storm, but you're locked in the freezer. Overnight lows in the teens Tuesday and Wednesday. That's about 20 degrees below average. Daytime highs. Wednesday only in the mid-20s, wind chills in the single digits. The morning commute becomes miserable. Subway delays when switches freeze. Buses running late. Everyone bundled up like they re-climbing Everest. Boston, your snow window is Wednesday, but current models don't show much. Maybe some flurries. Your story is sustained cold. Teens overnight, 20s during the day. Wind off the harbor makes it feel even colder. This is the kind of week where you just stay inside if you can. Philadelphia, teens overnight through midweek. 20s for highs. You are in that zone where you see some snow showers from the coastal system, but nothing significant sticks. The cold is brutal, though. Black ice on untreated roads. Wednesday morning will cause accidents. Portland, Maine, you are used to winter, but this is still legitimately dangerous cold. Overnight lows around 0, maybe below in the mountains. Daytime highs in the teens. The coast gets buffeted by northeast winds, making it feel even colder. Lobstermen working the boats, this is dangerous conditions. Spray freezes instantly. Decks become ice rinks. But here's where this whole situation escalates beyond just one cold week. New model runs this evening show the potential for a second storm system late week into the weekend. I want to be very clear, this is not a sure thing yet. It could completely fall apart. But both major models are hinting at low pressure developing in the Gulf and tracking northeast. If this happens, it would bring a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain from Texas through the southeast. The concern is this could be a major icing event for the south. Trees coated in ice, power lines snapping. The exact same areas that got hit last week could get hit again. I'll have much more confidence in this tomorrow as models come into better agreement or diverge. What makes the timing so critical with this potential second system is it comes right as the first Arctic outbreak tries to moderate. You get a brief taste of warmer weather, then another slug of cold air behind System 2. This yo-yo pattern is exhausting for everyone. Road crews can keep up, salt supplies run low, power companies are stretched thin trying to restore from the first event while preparing for a possible second. The sequence of events over the past 10 days and the next week is unprecedented in some ways. Major ice storm knocking out power across Tennessee, coastal bomb dumping heavy snow on Carolinas, sustained week-long Arctic outbreak for the entire East, potential second storm bringing more ice to the south. And then looking at extended range models, signals of polar vortex disruption in the second week of February. When the polar vortex becomes unstable, it can send even colder air plunging southward, air that originates directly from the Arctic Ocean with no warming. Let's talk about practical impacts because all these numbers are meaningless if you don't know how to protect yourself and your property. Power concerns are at the top of the list. Tennessee still has tens of thousands without electricity from last week. When overnight temperatures are in the teens and daytime highs barely make it to freezing, living without heat becomes life-threatening. Hypothermia sets in faster than people realize. If you lose power, focus on heating one room. Close off the rest of the house. Use blankets and layers. Never use outdoor equipment like grills or generators indoors. Carbon monoxide kills silently. Travel becomes incredibly hazardous, not just from snow, but from ice. Black ice is invisible. It forms when temperatures hover right around 32 degrees and any moisture on the road freezes. Bridges and overpasses freeze first because cold air flows underneath them. Wednesday morning across the mid-Atlantic and northeast, black ice will cause accidents. Slow down. Increase following distance. If you start to slide, don't slam the brakes. Ease off the gas and steer in the direction you want to go. Pipe protection for southern states not accustomed to hard freezes. Any pipe in an unheated space is vulnerable. Attics, crawl spaces, exterior walls, garages. Let faucets drip overnight. Moving water is much harder to freeze than standing water. Open cabinet doors under sinks so warm air can circulate around pipes. Disconnect outdoor hoses and drain exterior faucets. If a pipe does freeze, never use an open flame to thaw it. Use a hairdryer or heat lamp. Heating fuel consumption spikes during extended cold. If you heat with oil or propane, make sure your tank is topped off. These systems burn through fuel faster than you think when they rerunning constantly to keep up with single-digit temperatures. Running out of heating oil when it's 10 degrees outside is a crisis. Vehicle preparation matters. Keep at least half a tank of gas at all times. If you get stranded on a highway, you need to be able to run your engine periodically for heat. Idling uses more fuel than you expect. Have an emergency kit in your car. Blankets, water, snacks, flashlight, phone charger, first aid kit. Keep a bag of sand or kitty litter for traction if you get stuck. A small shovel helps dig out. Frostbite is a real concern in the upper Midwest Tuesday and Wednesday. When air temperature is in the single digits and wind chill is below zero, exposed skin can freeze in 15 to 30 minutes. Fingers and toes go first, then ears and nose. If you have to be outside, cover everything. Multiple thin layers work better than one thick layer. Moisture is your enemy. If you sweat, that moisture against your skin will make you colder. Dress in layers you can remove as needed. Check on vulnerable people in your community. Elderly neighbors who live alone might not realize how cold it is. They might be trying to save money by keeping the thermostat too low. Knock on doors, make phone calls, offer to help with firewood, or just verify they re-okay. Anyone with medical conditions that affect circulation is more susceptible to cold. Young children and infants lose body heat faster than adults. Homeless populations in every city are at extreme risk during cold like this. If you can volunteer at warming shelters or donate blankets and coats, local organizations desperately need help. Looking beyond this immediate cold snap, the pattern doesn't break down quickly. The West Coast ridge holds strong, keeping them warm and dry. The eastern trough persists, keeping the cold locked in place. Florida and the Deep South finally moderate by next weekend. Temperatures return to normal or slightly above. But the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic could stay in a below-average pattern well into mid-February. And here's what really concerns me looking at the extended range. Computer models are showing signs of a major pattern shift around February 10th through 15th. This is when the polar vortex could become more disrupted. A polar vortex disruption or sudden stratospheric warming event can send the coldest air of the entire winter southward. We saw this in February 2014 when the polar vortex collapsed and temperatures plummeted across the entire country. We saw it again in February 2021 when Texas froze, the power grid failed, and pipes burst across the state. I'm not predicting that exact scenario happens again, but the ingredients are starting to show up in the long-range data. Something to watch very closely over the next week. Let me bring this all together with a recap using different phrasing. A dangerous coastal storm is happening right now through tomorrow morning. Heavy snow from Georgia to Virginia, with the Carolinas getting hit hardest. Wilmington and Jacksonville looking at 10 inches. Charlotte dealing with 7.5 inches on top of last week's ice. Blizzard conditions along the coast with wind gusts to 55 miles per hour. That storm exits Tuesday, but the Arctic air doesn't budge. Eastern two-thirds of the United States locked in a deep freeze all week. Miami potentially hitting 36 degrees for the first time since '89. Houston and New Orleans under freeze warnings they almost never see. The Midwest experiencing frostbite-level cold with wind chills well below zero. Then we monitor that potential second storm late week that could bring devastating ice to the south. Your timeline. Tonight, snow continues heavy in North and South Carolina. Overnight, temperatures crash across the entire eastern U.S. Tuesday, snow tapers off but cold intensifies. Wednesday, the coldest morning for most locations with teens widespread and single digits common. Thursday, still cold, but southern states begin moderating. Friday, Texas and Oklahoma see a dramatic warm-up back to the 60s and 70s while the East Coast stays locked in winter. This weekend, we watch closely for that potential second icing event. Where you live determines your forecast. Texas to Maine under Arctic influence right now. Carolinas and Virginia getting buried tonight and tomorrow. Midwest in dangerous cold all week with lake effect snow adding insult to injury. Northeast and Mid-Atlantic staying consistently cold with no quick relief in sight. West Coast enjoying mild temperatures and missing all of this. What you need to do by when. Snow zone areas you should be fully prepared now. Dawn T travel tonight unless it's an emergency. Tuesday morning commute in affected areas will be impossible in some places. For extreme cold preparation tonight and tomorrow night are critical. Pipes need protection. Elderly neighbors need checking on. Frostbite risk peaks Tuesday and Wednesday in northern states. Tomorrow's update will be crucial. I'll have overnight model data showing whether that second system develops. Updated snow totals as they re-verified from the Carolinas and Virginia. Refined temperature forecasts as we see how cold it actually gets tonight. Extended range discussion on that potential polar vortex disruption mid-month. Things can and will change overnight. You need to see tomorrow's forecast. Subscribe right now if you haven't already. This is rapidly evolving. Model runs come in every 6 hours. Conditions change. Forecasts get updated. You want this information as soon as it's available. Turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Tomorrow's video drops at 8 a.m. Eastern, possibly earlier if significant changes occur overnight. Drop your city in the comments one final time. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you're most worried about, the snow, the cold, that potential second storm, power outages, whatever is on your mind. I read every single comment and use them to shape tomorrow's content. The more specific you are, the more personalized I can make the forecast for your area. Final action items. Snow areas, finish prep today. Stores will be mobbed and possibly closed tomorrow. Get what you need now. Extreme cold areas, protect pipes tonight and tomorrow night. Check heating systems. Stock up on fuel if needed. Everyone, check on people who might be vulnerable. The elderly, the very young, anyone with medical conditions, anyone experiencing homelessness. Community care saves lives during events like this. I've given you a lot of information over the last 20 minutes. My goal is always to inform without creating panic, to explain the science while keeping it accessible, to provide actionable advice you can actually use. If I've succeeded in that, I appreciate you trusting me with your weather information. If you think I missed something or want more detail on a particular aspect, let me know in the comments. These forecasts get better when you engage. See you tomorrow morning by 8 a.m. Eastern with all the latest data, critical updates on storm tracks, temperature forecasts, and that potential second system. You won't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, share this with anyone in the path of this weather. Stay safe, stay warm, and